Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being with us tonight. So many. I'm very touched to see so many familiar faces being here every year. You march with us, you commune with us, you mourn with us, you struggle with us, you hope with us. This is the 25th World AIDS Day. And this is the beginning of the third decade of Out of the Darkness observances of World AIDS Day. It's also the 30th year of gay men's health crisis. And it's the 25th anniversary of my more than 9,000-mile run around the perimeter of the United States. Reserved the church for October 19th to do a whole evening in which we would have celebrated the 25th anniversary of the homecoming, and it was going to be an evening of entertainment and honor, and I was going to really acknowledge a lot of the people that really made the run happen, who are still with us. People like Anita Ross-Fine, who was our president of our board the entire time we were going around America. She was our anchor. People like Christian Stone, who I could not pull off this evening without, who's been with part of the heart and soul of GMHC for so many years. In many ways, A.R.E.A wouldn't exist if I was supering a building on West 22nd Street. It was called Colonial House. It was owned by my mentor, Mel Sharon, who was part of that first group of gay men who gathered in Larry Kramer's apartment, along with Paul Popham and Nathan Fain and Paul Rappaport and Larry Mass and other people who created Gay Men's Health Crisis, the world's first community-based AIDS service organization, and still the largest. And Mel gave them their first home in this building on West 22nd Street. And I happened to be, I'm not going to go into all of this, but when I was superintendent of the building, when I happened to do a benefit run for GMHC that led me to get the call to do this run around, crazy run around America. And so I went to Roger McFarland, who was the president, no, he was the executive director of GMHC, and said, look, I have this idea about raising awareness about AIDS. I can raise funds for GMHC, but I need help organizing it. And Roger looked at me and said, we couldn't possibly take this on. This is, and I thought to myself, well, they're the largest. If they can't take it on, the only way to do this is to start from scratch and create our own organization, which is exactly what we did, and that's why A.R.E.A and GMHC still exist to this day. There are so many people that I wish I had the chance, if we, well, you know the saying, man plans and God laughs. I had a heart attack on July 1 and had to have a quadruple bypass. And so that's really the reason we didn't have the anniversary celebration. But I'm so grateful we've been able to still pull off Out of the Darkness, our 21st Out of the Darkness. But I wanted to, you know, I was hoping to acknowledge all sorts of people, people like my mother, who was the only road crew member to go the entire distance around America with me, Bill Concoy, our executive director, who was 6 months into the run, when we lost our road manager, packed up his files and joined us in Missoula, Montana, to administrate the run from the road and continued for the final 14 months with me and Mom. But I decided the best way to honor them all was kind of in keeping with our theme this evening about we are all sex workers. Like, one standing for all. We're all in this together. You know, the old AIDS anthem that Patty Austin sang all those years ago. But I wanted to honor Paul Popham. Paul was part of that original group, part of the first board. He was the first board president of GMHC. He was also ran the AIDS Action Council. I used to refer to Paul as the Johnny Appleseed of AIDS organizations because he would go across America and Canada and teach communities how to do what we did here in New York with GMHC and how to create their own organizations. And he was a hero of my mentor Mel's, and he became a hero of mine. And so as we progressed and the run looked like it was actually going to become a reality, we were really going to make it happen. Don't know quite how we did, but we did. And I decided I wanted to dedicate the run to Paul. So the entire 20-month effort was dedicated to Paul. And on March 1, 1986, when we had a kickoff at City Hall, it was a beautiful, clear morning, but as cold as it is tonight, probably colder, right in here. And we, the team, the crazy followers that helped me make this all happen, on my birthday that year, gave me a beautiful glass sculpture of a runner. And so that sculpture kind of, different versions of it became what we gave to people when we wanted to honor them. And so that's what we gave Paul. I hadn't seen him in a few months. Now, Paul was extraordinarily handsome. And if you've seen Larry Kramer's play, The Normal Heart, he's immortalized as one of the major characters, Bruce Niles. He was even modeled for Marlboro cigarettes. He was a Green Beret. He was a war hero. He was awesome. He exuded such warmth and such character at the same time, quietly. And he stepped out of the crowd, and my heart skipped a beat because it was a very, very diminished, white-haired old man that stepped out of the crowd to accept this sculpture, and it was quite a shock. What was even more shocking was that Paul lived another 14 months. He didn't pass until May 8th of 1987. I refer to Louisiana as the nadir of the run. I was in a bar in New Orleans, not getting much reaction or much support. They were very deeply in denial in Louisiana in 1987 about HIV/AIDS. And I got the news that Paul had passed. He has a number of quilts and patterns in the quilt. And I remember when we saw it first unfolded on October 11th, 1987. It was getting dark at the end of that day, and it was getting cold. Mel was with me and Mom, and we were looking for all the panels that we'd made. Mom and I made our first 10 panels of the Winnebago. And it was quite powerful to see them all sewn into the quilt. And if you've been thinking about creating a panel for someone you've lost, it's never too late to make a panel. And I remember Mel giving me the pen and asking me to put it on Paul's panel. And I remember engaging with the material. It was really awesome. Touching the material just was powerful. And it's powerful to be, it's always powerful to be in the presence of the quilts. Believe me, it's not an easy matter to hang quilts in this church. And I want to thank the hardy souls that helped me do it. Okay, I've talked quite long enough now. But before I leave you, I want to continue one tradition that I've been pretty much a constant of our Out of the Darkness. Just the way when we said we were all sex workers, remember when John Kennedy went to Berlin and said we are all Berliners? That's kind of the idea of this theme tonight. So I want to quote it all the way around America. His brothers, Robert Kennedy, Cape Town, South Africa, 1966. He was talking about the struggle against apartheid, but it became a rallying cry for the struggle against AIDS. And I first learned of this quote from David Summers, who I refer to as the first AIDS activist. He went on the Phil Donahue show, one of the first people to go public as a person living with HIV and AIDS. And that's who I got the quote from. Let no one be discouraged by the belief there is nothing one man or one woman can do against the enormous array of the world's ills, against misery and ignorance, injustice and violence. Few of us will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a man or a woman stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he or she sends a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Now, to finish off this tribute to GMHC's 30th anniversary and A.R.E.A's 25th anniversary, the 25th World AIDS Day, I thought it was most appropriate to have the Broadway choir sing a song that was sung the day I left New York City and was sung the day I returned. That really sums it all up for me and for many who are with us and who are no longer with us. It's called He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. And please enjoy.